Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Tom Basili. After the press conference last week where President Biden seemingly gave Russia a bit of an opening for a minor incursion into Ukraine, all eyes are now on the Ukrainian border and the Russian military buildup there. This as the UK sources are now saying that they believe that Russia will attempt to install a pro-Putin government in Kiev as a way of taking over the country without military intervention. Here to discuss the ongoing situation is retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General Blaine Holt. Welcome back to Wake Up America, General. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
General, the world heard the following from President Biden last week. Take a listen.
Russia will be held accountable if it invades, and it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, et cetera.
Now, General, the Ukrainian president pushed back pretty hard and pretty quickly. He says there are no minor incursions. Russia is now calling for a number of written commitments and concessions. There's the president of Ukraine's remarks in response to President Biden. Russia is now calling for written commitments and concessions from the U.S. and from NATO. This all sounds like we're back on a Cold War footing again with Moscow. And it seems like we are negotiating from a position, a defensive position or a position of weakness. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is we would all do well to pick up a history book and look at Europe's history, especially centering in on Neville Chamberlain's great hopes that Hitler was a man who could be reasoned with and could be contained. The other part is that nobody should forget that Ukraine is one of our key partners in the war in Afghanistan and fought alongside of us. And so the idea that their sovereignty breached in any way is okay as a NATO partner. There may not be an ally yet, but as a partner, their sovereign borders are their sovereign borders, which Russia's breached 8 years ago. Right now, we're showing tremendous weakness. This is an unavoidable war, and we're going to have to hold our leaders accountable for whatever happens here.
You said it's unavoidable. I just want to, you believe.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase myself. It's still avoidable.
It's still avoidable.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have an avoidable situation, and our diplomacy and our actions are not matching up. And
right.
And I loved what was said earlier on the show with, Secretary Blinken is not matching up with Lavrov. Let me explain what really is hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
If Russia takes Ukraine, and right now their presentation of forces is showing a full-scale invasion, not a minor incursion. If they do this, it's actually NATO unity itself. NATO cohesion itself is the target.
Yeah.
It is not Ukraine. But we need to stand by our partner, and we need to now push back and make this war avoidable. It does not have to happen. And we should hold those to account if it does.
And the Russians are going in through the back door into Germany to try and split the Germans off from NATO. I mean, and not formally, but in terms of their position with respect to Ukraine. We're already seeing that happen. Your reaction to reports that Putin is looking to use so-called sort of fifth column attacks or political incursions to take control of the country. Do you think that this is likely on a parallel track?
A Russian operational preference in their doctrine is this concept we call hybrid war, meaning I can get you in a variety of ways. One of them you're seeing emerge right now with hints that there is some other leader in Ukraine who's ready to be friendly to Moscow. But I would argue that that leader would not obviate this war, would help facilitate it. And you're seeing them use the Nord Stream 2 issues, East versus West in NATO. And these are the areas where we've really got to focus our diplomacy and what our flexible deterrent options are, because we need to act now.
Yeah, General, I want to ask you about that. President Biden has also said that he would put additional troops in Eastern European NATO countries like Poland and Romania if Russia goes in. But I think both sides, Republicans and Democrats, have made it clear over the last week there doesn't seem to be any political will to commit troops to Ukraine preemptively. Was it a mistake to telegraph that to Putin at this point? And why not move more troops into Poland now to try and show him that we mean business?
I agree. There's many options that we have and showing strength, but this is where the dearth of American leadership sits right now. If American leadership stands up in NATO, has a plan, it's cohesive and coherent, and the problem and the threat is described wholly, I imagine you'd have bipartisan support fairly quickly. I just talked with a Ukrainian scientist last week for a couple of hours about this, and what he would urge everybody is to think about the fallout, the human fallout that we saw in Afghanistan, and think about something that looks like that happening in Europe. Europe can't afford this. Right. We need to walk this back, and Putin is taking advantage, and we would expect so.
We always appreciate your comments, General Holt. And next time we have you on the show, I want to talk about how China and Iran can capitalize on this situation.
Key factors.
Because you know that the three of them are working together. Plenty more to come here on Wake Up America Weekend after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.